Hey Narwhals, and welcome back to some more weight loss stories. Only a small percentage of our viewers actually subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind later, so please tap subscribe to join the original 100k Narwhals. 5 tips from a big loser. At 23, I was 337 pounds. In 8 years, I lost over half my body weight. I've maintained that ever since, with the exception of a pregnancy, and I am now 44 years old. Here's my biggest tips for those of you wanting to lose weight and keep it off for good. 1. There is beauty in the breakdown. I'm not sure the catalyst for change for each of you, but believe me when I say find it, because you can climb up from the breakdown with hope and the drive to change like no other. For me, it was realizing I was the largest size Lane Bryant carried. I kept myself together until I was alone in the backseat of my aunt's Ford Expedition. I was silently crying when my sister turned around and asked me what was wrong. My mind was racing through all the negative experiences my weight had given me or kept me from. I panicked about where I would buy clothes if I outgrew retail stores. I mourned the life I didn't have or was too afraid to have. The acknowledgement that my sister and my aunt saw my sadness was like an unveiling of all the pain and shame I held inside of me. It was cracked wide open for them to see, and then I had the emotional breakdown, crying and sobbing to them about the 1,000,001 thoughts tumbling down and out of my mouth. And they were kind. They were full of empathy and love. They asked me what I wanted, and for the first time in my adult life, I admitted to someone else that I wanted to lose weight. They suggested we all start Weight Watchers together that next week, and I agreed. Although I would never wish that pain for anyone, it was entirely necessary for me to take responsibility and action to change. Find your lowest, find someone who cares for you, and explain to them your shame and fear. Also, find a friend and family member who can take the journey with you. No matter what your plan for change is, having someone at your side aids in a multitude of ways. Support, new ideas, motivation, commiserating, etc. Priceless. 2. Realize this very moment that all the old ideas about diet and weight loss are way off. There is no quick fix for lasting change. No pill, no surgery, no diet, no equipment will make this easy for you. You have to make the change. And my first mental trick for all of you is simply this. View yourself getting healthy as a long journey you are setting out on. Much like a long hike, you will have to train, layer on practice with failure, exhaustion, and exhilaration to propel you to your end goal. If you look at the mountain you think you want to climb and feel discouraged, you are not alone. Had I set my initial goal at 169 pounds, I would never have wanted to start. Instead, I took 10% of my weight and set that as my first hill. Allow your mind and body the ease of making change in small, attainable chunks instead of the mountain. 3. Much like nature, our bodies do not shift in a straight, linear way. Change can be like a cha-cha. 1 step up, 2 back, 4 steps forward, 1 back. If you place all your emotions and motivation on the number on the scale, you will be dissatisfied with your efforts. Instead, look at the natural side of change. If you rework a habit that is unhealthy and shift it towards a healthier one, your end product is healthier body in many ways, not just weight. Look at weight loss as what it is, a consequence of creating a more healthy lifestyle. Grade yourself on the ability to become consistent with your changes and not the drastic change of your body. Because let's be honest, when nature is drastic, it is because of natural traumas and disasters. Same thing with your body. Drastic change is a disaster. 4. Getting healthy is easiest when you pick 1 to 2 habits to alter towards health and fully integrate them into your daily routine. That 1 to 2 cemented change will be the fire that moves you. You're proud of your efforts, you have drive to do more alterations that leads to another set to work on, and so on. You will be most successful in making this a lifelong change with this deliberate weaving of pulling back on the unhealthy and moving more healthy habits into your life. 5. Perfection is the killer of progress. You will never be perfect, but not a soul on earth is. Your strength will come from falling. Maybe you binge from emotional pain and you stand up, dust yourself off, and get right back to your path, letting that fall become a stepping stone you rise up from. You can fall and rise with more power if you allow yourself grace and understanding that you would grant a loved one. Change is freaking hard. Altering habits is mentally tiresome. You will get weak. Your task is to know this fact and be accepting of your efforts. And let me tell you a secret, when you do that over and over again, you flex your mental motivation just like a bodybuilder would with weights, and it becomes so much easier as you go along on your journey. People are always amazed or comment on my willpower, but I worked hard for it. I stood up and kept grasping one rung at a time for the healthy BMI. You can too. Eat the best part first, then you'll probably eat less. So my whole life, I've had this weird habit of eating the worst part of something first to save the good part for last. For example, if I'm eating In-N-Out animal fries, I will pick up the dry fries from the bottom of the container and eat those fries first to save the cheesy, saucy fries for last. I've heard a lot of overweight people say they do the same thing, so hopefully some of you will relate. Anyway, I think today I have finally learned why that's not a good idea. There was an amazing homemade cake at work today. I had tried a couple of tastes of the frosting before finally deciding to give in and have a slice. The frosting was to die for, and frosting is always my favorite part that I save for last, so I started with the cake part. Y'all, I ate an entire piece of cake that only tasted okay. Then by the time I got to the delicious frosting, it didn't taste as good because I just had a bunch of sugary cake. If I had just started with the frosting, I probably would have only taken a couple bites of the cake and then thrown the rest out. The slice of cake itself was probably only about 200 calories without the frosting, so it's not like this one instance of me eating something I don't like is a huge deal, but I've noticed I make a habit of eating just okay food to get to the great food. I probably do this every day with every meal. Starting with dinner tonight, I'm going to eat my favorite part first and see if that has any effect on how much I end up eating. I brought this up to my husband the other week, and he was so confused about the best part. He didn't understand that food could have best parts. I thought I was the only one, and I always save my favorite parts for last. By the time I get to it, sometimes I'm just too full, but I still justify eating it because it's the best part, so I don't want to waste it. And this is a pattern I see with my skinny friends too. We were at the cafe the other day, got coffee and bagels, so delish. They accidentally overcooked our bagels. No big deal, just kinda chewy. But she refused to eat more than a few bites. The heck, it's still a good bagel. Something I've noticed is that they won't eat something if they don't enjoy it. Where I still ate the bagel because heck, it's free food, she refused. So next time you go to eat with friends or order some Chinese food, only get and finish the stuff you really enjoy. You'll not only eat less, but enjoy it more. You get to eat the food you really like without feeling too bloated and nasty after. So apparently, the campus has a new student. A while back when colleges started, students were given the option of participating in FACE at the campus. Given the nature of how I feel about the pandemic, I wouldn't go, but I decided to go for the sake of meeting people I haven't seen in a while. And those at the campus hadn't seen me since March, when I was about 242 pounds, where during the lockdown I managed to lose 80 pounds, down to 163. My conversations with the professors and students were awkward, to say the least. The second day, I found out exactly why, when I was cornered by two students and asked how the frig do I know their names when I was a new student. At first, I thought they were teasing, until I actually realized that they didn't recognize who I was at all. I had to show several progress pics for them to believe that I am, in fact, not a new student. They ended up apologizing, and the whole campus had a good laugh about it for 2 weeks or so. It was hilarious. It's not the first time someone who hadn't seen me in a while failed to recognize me, but it was the first time it became a pretty big deal. When I lost weight, minus 120 pounds, I was out for a walk and was on a route from my house towards my parents' house. It's a nice walkway by their main road. They only live 3 miles away from my house, and I see them pretty often. I saw their car driving towards me, and I waved at them. They didn't wave back. I found out later that they hadn't recognized me. They were asking each other who the hell had waved at them. And good for you. I know it might feel weird, but it means you have done a good job. I had a similar thing happen to me, and it made me realize that I had done a good job. I had this happen with my cousin. To be fair, we hadn't seen each other in several years, and I lost about 40 kilos, 88 pounds, and gone from blonde to red hair. It was so comical. We live about 4 hours apart, and we had driven down to celebrate my other cousin's, his older brother's birthday. So cousin walks in after we arrived and started saying hi to everyone. My mother hugged him, and then he shook hands with my father and brother, because you know men don't hug, and then he turned to me and put his hand forward to shake mine. I thought it was a bit of a joke at first, since he shook hands with my brother and father and just continued since we kind of stood in a line. But he said his name. Again, I thought he was joking since just we hadn't seen each other in so long. So I joked back and said my name, and his jaw just dropped. His face was priceless. He then looked to his older brother for confirmation and said, "No way." His brother answered with, "Yes, it's your cousin." Everybody laughed and my cousin was stumped. He said he thought I was a girlfriend of my brother since he didn't recognize me. Next time we meet, I'll be wearing a name tag just to mess with him. This hasn't happened with people yet, but I went to visit a friend who moved to/lives in a new city about 3 hours away. Her doggos were my little buddies. I used to play with them for hours when I'd come over. Unfortunately, 3 hours is a bit of a distance to drive, being tight on money and tight on personal time. The boys, Tito and Tiny Boy, hadn't seen me in 8 months or so. I had likely lost 65 pounds since then and a heck of a lot of inches, so I looked different. The boys were skeptical at first, almost ready to attack the intruder until they sniffed my hands and got my scent. And boom, zoomies for a good 15 minutes and a couple doggy piles in the bed with them after so they could get some lovin's. It was so cute and weirdly flattering that they didn't recognize me, and the second they did, their brains exploded with love and excitement. Starting weight 280, goal weight 140, and current weight 138. And that brings us to the end narwhals. Please tap subscribe to join the original 100k narwhals. And lastly, here's our featured narwhal of the day. A 44-pound weight loss in 2 years.